Travel back to the 13th century and explore the intriguing world of the Yuan Dynasty. Founded by the Mongols, this dynasty reigned over China from 1271 to 1368 CE. At the helm of this historical journey was the formidable Kublai Khan, whose rule marked a turning point in China's history. In the year 1268, Kublai Khan set his sights on a monumental conquest, vanquishing the Song dynasty and solidifying his position as the Emperor of China. The Mongols had made previous attempts to seize Song territory during the reigns of Genghis Khan and Mongol Khan. Despite their unparalleled military strength, the Song dynasty posed a tenacious challenge. The Song adopted a unique strategy that countered the swift Mongol cavalry. They embraced a more static approach to warfare, constructing formidable fortifications at strategic locations, including cities and river crossings. This defensive tactic forced Kublai Khan to wage a slow and relentless campaign to overcome the Song dynasty. With an army exceeding 1 million warriors, an impressive naval fleet, and immense wealth, Kublai Khan embarked on a mission that would test the Mongol military machine like never before. The tenacity of Song China made this endeavor one of the longest in Mongol history, lasting 11 grueling years. The Song's defensive stance was fortified by the support of several Song generals who either defected or surrendered their forces to the Mongols. Additionally, the infighting among the advisors of the child emperor weakened the Song's central authority. Amid this discord, the Empress Dowager and the young Emperor Gongzong eventually surrendered, leading to the fall of their capital, Linan, on March 28, 1276. Though groups of loyalists continued to resist for another 3 years, the Mongols gradually subdued them. Along the way, they installed 2 more young emperors, Duanzong and Daibing, but their efforts were in vain. The turning point came on March 19, 1279, when a decisive naval battle near Yishan, near modern-day Macau, secured Mongol victory. The conquest was complete, and for the first time since the 9th century CE, China was unified, albeit at a tremendous cost to its people. Kublai Khan ascended to the throne of China, adopting the title of emperor and adopting the reign name Shizu. In 1271, he officially declared his dynasty as the Yuan, a term that signifies origin or center. The exact beginning of the Yuan dynasty is debated among historians, with dates ranging from 1260 to 1279, each marking significant milestones in the Mongol conquest. In an attempt to appease their Chinese subjects, Mongol rulers, starting with Kublai Khan, adopted certain Chinese traditions, such as wearing emperor's robes, traveling in sedan chairs, and consulting Confucian advisors. These efforts, however, masked the retention of real power in Mongol hands. Key administrative roles in the newly created provinces of China, including northern Korea, were primarily held by Mongols, particularly members of the vast Mongol imperial bodyguard. Despite these surface-level Chinese influences, the Mongols retained the upper hand. They abolished the civil service examinations, which typically favored educated Chinese officials, reinstating them in 1313 but still offering Mongols advantages. Chinese officials continued their roles but were subject to random inspections by Mongol-trusted censors. Mongol institutions, like the Shumi Yuan or Ministry of War, were introduced. Jarkis, Mongol regional officials, governed Chinese territories, forming local governments in each province alongside representatives from various Mongol clans. The Mongol police force, Tutkal, was tasked with ensuring the safety of the roads, protecting them from bandits. Western Asians, especially Muslims, often held positions in the financial aspects of the government, such as finance ministers and tax inspectors. In the Yuan dynasty, Kublai Khan introduced a new social hierarchy in China to ensure that Mongols retained a distinct advantage. He officially classified people into 4 distinct Yuan ranks based on their loyalty to the ruling Mongols. Mongols, the conquering Mongol elite. Semu, comprising people from Central Asia or speakers of Turkic languages. Hanran, encompassing Northern Chinese, Tibetans, Khitans, Jurchen, and others. Nanran, representing Southern Chinese, who had been ruled by the previous Song dynasty. The implications of belonging to these categories were far-reaching. They influenced a person's tax status, treatment under the legal system, and eligibility for government positions. For instance, Southern Chinese paid taxes based on their land's size, while Northern Chinese were taxed by household. Legal punishments further emphasized these disparities, where a Mongol guilty of murder might only receive a fine, while a southern Chinese found guilty of theft could face both a fine and criminal tattooing. Although the Yuan dynasty introduced a new legal code in 1270, reducing the number of capital crimes, many aspects of daily life remained deeply divided along these social lines. Moreover, the Yuan rulers sought to control their subjects through these distinctions, making it easier to identify individuals and suppress rebellions. Chinese people were prohibited from carrying weapons and congregating in public, adding to the divide. Despite this separation, traditional religions were allowed to persist as long as they didn't threaten the state. Buddhism was often favored over traditional Chinese Confucianism, reflecting the Mongols' preference for shamanism. Kublai Khan himself converted to Tibetan, Lamaist, Buddhism. Interactions and intermarriages between the social groups were discouraged. However, the southern Chinese managed to preserve their classical Chinese culture through private gatherings and the arts. They used forms like painting, poetry, and plays to subtly protest against the Yuan regime. Kublai Khan held a particular interest in re-establishing the Chinese tribute system, which had been neglected in the latter part of the Song dynasty's reign. This system required other states to pay both symbolic and material tribute to China, recognizing its central position in the world. Kublai saw this as a means to legitimize his rule and to boost international trade, obtaining valuable goods and expanding foreign relations. His campaigns aimed to bring China's neighboring states back under the Chinese tribute system. Japan faced two invasions in 1274 and 1281, but both attempts failed due to Japan's staunch resistance and the famous divine winds, the kamikaze, which aided their defense. Southeast Asia was similarly targeted in various campaigns, but these expeditions faced challenges. Invasions of Vietnam, Burma, and Java achieved limited success. Nevertheless, they secured regular tribute from the pagan kingdom in Burma and the Champa and Dai Viet kingdoms of Vietnam. In the West, relative peace prevailed, known as the Pax Mongolica. However, Tibet experienced a major rebellion in the early 1290s, and the descendants of Genghis Khan, particularly the Oghdiads, continued to encroach on China's western borders. Through these campaigns and their extensive empire, the Mongols expanded China's contact with the wider world, especially in the west through Persia. Notably, thanks to missionaries, ambassadors, and travelers like Marco Polo, China made connections with Europe. Marco Polo, during his service to Kublai Khan from 1275 to 1292, served as a roving ambassador and reporter on the more remote parts of the Mongol Empire. Upon returning home, he wrote the Travels of Marco Polo, a valuable source for understanding the Yuan dynasty and its emperor. While gaining world fame, the Yuan dynasty fostered international trade and commerce. Artisans and craft workers received elevated status and tax exemptions, while merchants enjoyed better tax measures, low-cost loans, and the removal of sumptuary regulations. This encouraged the use of paper money, regulated currency exchanges, and improved transportation networks, including the Grand Canal connecting southern and northern China. These policies led to a flourishing crafts industry and vibrant trade, particularly in silk and fine porcelain. Trade also facilitated the exchange of ideas and technologies, such as Persia's expertise in astronomy, maps, luxury textiles, and irrigation reaching China. Conversely, the West acquired knowledge of gunpowder weapons, printing, the mariner's compass, and paper money. Islam's influence extended further east as merchants crisscrossed Asia, contributing to an era of increased cultural exchange. After Kublai Khan's rule, his grandson Temur Olyoitu took the throne and continued with many of the same institutions and officials his father had appointed. His reign was peaceful and prosperous. However, a series of short reigning rulers followed, who grappled with internal divisions between pro-Chinese and pro-Mongol traditionalists at all levels of government. This internal rivalry occasionally escalated to violence, leading to assassinations and coups. In addition to political unrest, many southern Chinese, especially among the intellectual class, held fast to their traditional customs and refused to acknowledge their Mongol rulers. Some retired to pursue the arts or other non-governmental pursuits. By the mid-14th century CE, the Yuan dynasty faced a devastating series of challenges: unusually cold winters, famines, plagues, and the flooding of the Yellow River led to hyperinflation when the government printed excessive amounts of paper money to address the damaged infrastructure. Widespread banditry and uprisings plagued the overtaxed peasantry. Moreover, local elites and provincial administrators in southern China collaborated with bandits, smugglers, and even religious leaders to take control of entire towns. Yuan China was disintegrating from within. The Yuan rulers' infighting, bloated bureaucracy, financial mismanagement, and allocation of resources to a select few princes and generals further exacerbated the crisis. However, their failure to suppress numerous rebellions, including those led by groups like the Red Turban Movement, particularly weakened their position. One key rebel leader, Zhu Yunjiang, the head of the Red Turban Movement, understood that to establish a stable government, he needed capable administrators, not just warriors seeking loot. He adapted the Red Turban Movement's traditional aim of reinstating the old Song dynasty to his own ambitions of rule. Zhu gained broader support by abandoning the anti-Confucian policies that had alienated the Chinese educated classes. Zhu's ascent to power began with the capture of Nanjing in 1356 CE. He continued to defeat rival rebel leaders and their armies, triumphing over Chen Yuliang at the Battle of Poyang Lake in 1363 CE and Jiang Shicheng in 1367 CE. After taking Beijing, the last Yuan emperor of a unified China, Toghon Temür, fled to Mongolia, leaving Zhu the most powerful leader in China. In January 1368 CE, Zhu declared himself the ruler of China and took the reign name of the Hong'er Emperor, signifying abundantly martial. He founded the Ming dynasty, meaning bright or light, which would rule China for nearly 3 centuries. Meanwhile, the Yuan dynasty continued to exist in Mongolia under the name of the Northern Yuan dynasty.